Hello, my name is Christy Godwin, and I'm a psychic medium. I'm here today with my friend Marcy. She has a wonderful story about her encounter with an angel. If y'all have been paying attention to my blogs, you know I'm a little bit obsessed with them. And I'm a little bit jealous of Marcy because she's actually seen one front and center in person. And so she is here to tell us that story. Thank you so much for joining me today, Marcy.
Thank you for having me.
So now this happened, what, about 15 years ago, right?
Correct.
And you had a very sick child at that point.
Yes, that's true.
So tell us what happened.
So my son Ethan was battling cancer, and he had gone through quite a few years of cancer treatment for a brain tumor. And we had received the news that he ended up getting a secondary cancer, cancer, leukemia, from the drugs that we treated him with for the brain tumor. And at that time, the doctors were just dumbfounded. They just said, this is probably it. He would never survive leukemia treatment. We were working with doctors on the East Coast, at the Mayo, St. Jude's. We were working with a lot of doctors, and everybody's opinion was, we don't know that he could survive leukemia treatment. So we pushed forward. We prayed a lot and just prayed for some direction. And the direction was clearly no, fight and go through with the leukemia treatment. And so we pushed the doctors and we started, doing preliminary tests. And one in particular on this particular day was an MRI that we had to do on my son. And his MRIs were very lengthy because he had a brain tumor and then it had spread to his spine. So we were typically, in for an MRI, about 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours. And on this day, he was in there. I would go into the room with him, and as he was pushed back into the MRI, he always liked me to hold on to his legs and his feet. And while I did that, while he was in for the scan, I would always pray. And this particular day, I was devastated. I mean, we had gone through so many setbacks, and they had told us years and years and years that, oh, this time is the end. This time's the end. And this one really scared me. I was really just going on blind faith by saying, yes, let's just do leukemia treatment on top of everything else. Just went on blind faith. And as I was sitting there and Ethan was getting the scan and I was holding on to him and praying and I closed my eyes, I could feel like a warmth in this very cold room in the basement of this hospital. I could
Now,
feel
at this point, you're holding his legs and
yes,
your eyes are closed.
my eyes are closed and I'm
Now, this
praying.
is completely off the subject, but I have to ask. Now, this poor baby, did they give him medicine before you went to this MRI?
No, he was too tough for that. Nope.
He was a trooper.
Nope. He's just like, let's do it. Let's get it over with.
I cannot imagine laying
No.
there for 2.5 hours.
No, he didn't require any medication for that. So he usually required a gift afterwards and easily delivered.
Exactly. This is a good time to ask for anything you want, baby. So now you're holding his legs and you have your eyes closed and you're feeling this warmth come over you.
Yes. And it's like a sense of, it was like the room was warming up because, again, we're in a hospital, we're in a basement. Hospitals are always cold and they're just not the kind of places anybody wants to be. But I felt this warmth and I was closing my eyes and praying crazily that, these scans would give us direction. Is the brain tumor stable and tumors in his spine stable, that we only have to focus on the leukemia. I mean, I just needed answers, and really, really begged that that we would get some good guidance. And I started to feel the room warm up, and then a sense of like the room was filling up, like a shuffle of motion in the room. And it wasn't a scary feeling at all. It was just a very different feeling that I had never had before. And here I had been doing these scans, praying over him for years before that, since 99 to 2005. So he would have scans every 6 weeks. This just felt very different. So I did feel like a peace and this warmth coming over me, the room kind of shuffling around and filling up. So it was this big white room, and I just felt the sense of, it was full. I guess that's the best way that I can describe it. It was full. And then this vision that just came to me was this feeling of these big, almost like statues that were strong and firm, holding their arms, and I realized that they looked like angels, and that they had surrounded the entire room that we were in and the MRI machine, and they were big, they were very large. There wasn't, it was kind of like they were all the same height, standing shoulder to shoulder, like no room in between. And I saw a definition of them, but it was like they were blurred. So I couldn't really see like any faces or details, but I could see the shapes, and I could tell that they were all shoulder to shoulder. And then what stood out the most, which I later identified as being Archangel Michael. And he was huge compared to these others, which were already very large and very strong feeling. But I could see this giant angel, which I identified with being Archangel Michael, and he went all the way to the ceiling. And he was like this big, huge statue, but I could see details of his wings. He had armor on, and even though this happened in 2005, I can still see every single little detail. But clearly, he was the superior angel, and it was like the rest of them were his army. And they were just gathered around and gave such a feeling of peace and calm. And, you know, I know that it sounds like a crazy story.
It does not.
I was so crazy happy about that, and that feeling of this is going to be okay. Things are going to be okay. And I didn't have any problems sharing it with our nurses. I didn't have any problems sharing it with the radiation techs. I told my family. Obviously, I told my friends.
Yes.
Because there's no denying a visit like that. And
there isn't. And, you know, I do want to confirm, not only as you're telling this story, I can feel into it that it was Michael. The way you described him is exactly the way people describe him when they have seen him. The armor, huge, and his energy is just unmistakable.
mm-hmm.
And when you're visited by other angels, as people have read my blog, I communicate with different angels, and their energy is all different. Just like when I communicate with your loved ones from the other side, their energy is all very different and identifiable. Now, when you saw these angels, were your eyes still closed, or had you opened them at that point? Did you open them and see them?
My eyes were closed, and it was like I could see them, and then I didn't know what I was seeing. So my eyes were closed and I could see them, but I did open them because I thought clearly this isn't what I'm seeing, but I could see them with my eyes closed, and then I could see them with my eyes open. And I think I think that that's where I got more detail of actually how large and how many there were in this room. It was like with my eyes closed, I only got maybe just, like in front of me and the side of me. But when I opened my eyes, I realized they were all around me.
And, I love to hear you tell this story because you can just see your face just lights up with, this visit. I mean, it's just so unbelievable. And when people talk about angels' visitations, they're the same. I mean, they know they've been visited by an angel, and there is no denying it. And the warmth and peace you feel is indescribable.
Right.
And you feel it in a time where you really shouldn't. You should not have been feeling warmth and peace where you were.
No.
For them to visit you and give you that gift. And it's like right when you need it. And it's like, okay, you can get over this. Here's the hump. And that's where I frequently hear people talk about the angel visitations. Michael is all about strength, and Michael is with you a lot. I know one time I had been talking to Marcy and I had said some things to her, and I said, and oh yeah, there's Michael around you. And she had told me that just the day before she'd been praying to him and using some spray in her house. So he is definitely around you a lot. Very strong, peaceful warrior angel. Just love him. I love them all, so don't stop visiting me.
No, we do love them all.
We do. They just all have different strengths and different energies. And then I really feel like the other angels were from a different phylum, and I will be blogging about that. There's different layers of angels. Here, we more frequently on Earth talk about the archangels because they're more identifiable to us, probably because they were just written about more and they're in the Bible more and those types of things. So have you had any angel visitations since then?
I haven't, unfortunately. That was, really, I think that was so profound and undeniable, and a feeling that still remains with me even today. Um, I think that can pretty much take me through the rest of my life.
You hear that?
There was no denying that, and it was at a time where I felt desperate and there was no hope and devastated, and so I haven't had that happen since. But again, I'll be satisfied if, I think that will carry me through the rest of my life.
I hear actually that a lot when people are telling me stories about angels. Angels usually come like that. They're with us all the time, but to manifest like that, if you experience that once in your lifetime, you are truly blessed. But everyone that has had it happen says the same thing. The feeling they get from that visit carries them through the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. And it always comes at a time where that visit comes, something catastrophic has happened, just where you have lost all hope, and they come to give you that little pick-me-up. And then later in your life, when you're going through tough times, and you're also going through times where, you just feel like you can't go on, people look back to that moment and can pull strength and energy from that moment of that first angel visitation. So what you're saying is what I hear from a lot of people, like you need it only once, because the memory, it never leaves you. The detail never goes away, and that feeling never goes away. Well, thank you so much, Marcy, for sharing your story with me today. I'm so happy to have you and to hear your story. I love hearing it every single time.
Well, thank you for allowing me to share it. Even many, many years later, I still have no problem sharing that story. It was amazing.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining me today. Again, my name is Christy Godwin, and I'm a psychic medium. If you would like to get in touch with me, please email me at christygodwin111@gmail.com. Thank you.